Today is my birthday, and I will celebrate it by turning my flat into a photo studio. So I guess I will photograph 15 models in a row tonight. And of course the first people have to come early. Wait, let's rewind a bit here. I think I have some explaining to do first. Well, as I told you, it's my birthday. But not just any birthday, but in fact my 30th birthday. A dark day that has crept up on me for weeks and months whenever I looked into my calendar. I don't know why, but somehow turning 30 was really scary for me. Once the 2 is replaced by a 3, I knew I would be officially, well, old. Like it's a sign of aging, a proof of change and mortality. I've never been big on celebrating birthdays, so why should this one be different? But as I looked in the mirror, I realized that my own transience is just a mirror of the transients around me, and that my family and friends are changing just as I am. And then it hit me. Time is too precious to spend it on things that we don't even enjoy. So why should I suddenly throw a big birthday party just because it's a round birthday? Instead, I think the older we get, the more we should invest our time in the things that we actually enjoy. So I decided to spend my birthday with my favorite things: friends, food, and, of course, photography. So when I'm talking about shooting 15 models that night, I actually mean 15 friends. But to my defense, I do think that my friends look a lot like models. And I can already tell you that it will be a bumpy ride and not everything worked out. But I definitely came out of this experience with some big learnings, which I will share with you at the end. So now let's get back to the party. Okay, we still have like half an hour. I'm not even dressed yet, but I guess we have the food, we have the studio, so I'm ready to, take some shots. I invited some of my closest friends to come over to hang out, have some beers, eat some food and be photographed. But fear not, I've warned everybody ahead of time, and luckily everybody was also down to be in front of the camera. And quickly we had our first volunteer, my friend Visna. But first, let's take a look at the studio setup. So this is everything I used. First, of course, my flat, more precisely my office, which is by no means a big space, so it will get a bit cozy in here. Next, a cheap used photo backdrop I found on a marketplace website. The color is not of much meaning since I will shoot in black and white anyway, so the contrast is all that matters. Also a stool, because large format portraits usually take some time and it's more comfortable for the model to sit instead of stand. I also used a light, and mine is, well, not the greatest. I only have this one light which I got from eBay years ago, and it doesn't even have a branding on, so I have no idea what it actually is. And it's pretty flimsy, to say it politely. Also, the settings are pretty limited because on the continuous light setting I cannot adjust anything. It's just one light strength and one color temperature. This light definitely caused some big problems during the shoot, but more on that later. For the camera, I even went with 2 cameras. My Chamonix N2 4x5" large format camera and my Leica M10 as a digital backup. For the large format camera in particular, I of course also needed some more equipment, such as a light meter, my film holders and a good organizational system to keep track of loaded, unloaded, exposed and unexposed holders. So my friend Visna was the first model of the night, and this is the shot I took of him. Yes, shocker, it's blank. Which really sucks because we're not off to a good start, and on top of that I don't really know what happened here. It looks like the sheet wasn't exposed at all, so maybe I didn't cock the shutter properly or the lens maybe just didn't open. Luckily I took some backup shots on my M10, so at least I have something to show. I am really sorry that the bravery of going first didn't pay off, but I offered Visna to come back again to redo the 4x5 shot. So for now, sadly, portrait 1 out of 15 was not a success. Next up is Mo, whom you might know from a previous video of mine from my Analog Dialogue series. I was so relieved when I took this one out of the developing tank because we got an image. I absolutely love how this image turned out. The glasses, the hair, the tones are just really lovely in my opinion. And the focus might not be spot on, but good enough to count as a successful shot. So 2 out of 15 was a success. Portrait 3 out of 15 was also successful with my friend Nima, and a little bit of a more dramatic light, where I positioned the light source a bit more to the side. 3, 2, 1. But here you can probably see what I was struggling with the most during this shoot: limited light. The shot looks a bit underexposed with lack of information in the shadows, but I actually like how dynamic it looks besides the simple composition. The eyes are in focus and Nima's soft expression also suits the shot very well, so luckily number 3 of 15 was a success. The only black and white 4x5 film I had at home is Fomapan 100, so regarding the film speed I was already pretty limited. And since my light setup is so flimsy and I only have one key light and not multiple sources, the amount of available light was rather dim. This forced me to use the lens wide open at f5.6, and in addition to this I also had to shoot with a shutter speed of 1/60th or even 1/30th of a second. Since the camera is on a tripod, I use a shutter release cable and my model is sitting. I knew I could get away with such a slow speed, but this also meant that I had to nail the focus since the depth of field was so incredibly shallow. And this didn't always go right, such as on portrait number 4 with my friend Schnin.
Gerne. Möchtest du kannst mir Also nur zur Info, das wird ein bisschen dauern.
Und du siehst so richtig aus wie in so einer Doku, wo jetzt irgendwie so eine Doku über, keine Ahnung, eine Doku über Sexualität, sagen wir mal. Und du bist dann so im Monolog und würdest jetzt deine Sichtweise erzählen.
Overall, I like this portrait and I'm really amazed what you can achieve with such a simple setup. But even though Schnin has amazing teeth that are worth being shown off, it would have been even more amazing to have her eyes in focus instead. So number 4 is semi-successful in my opinion. Of course, I didn't only do this mistake once, but several times. So portrait number 5 of Katrin is also only halfway successful and pretty badly out of focus. Thus, so far, out of 5 shots we have 1 miss, 2 out of focus shots and 2 great ones. So let's hope it gets better from here. Fun fact, I'm actually married to one of the people in the group that I took a photo of that night. Can you guess who? Also, how about a different mistake for a change? Because I also have plenty of that. So here is the next portrait of my friend Steffi, where it took us some time to be able to shoot since we had to laugh, because Steffi's shirt is the exact same color as the backdrop and we were wondering if the portrait would only be a floating head. Here I nailed the focus almost perfectly, but you can see another thing that went wrong: fingerprints. I left some fingerprints on a couple of images, which probably happened when loading or unloading the film. I mean, forget about EXIF data or Leica's new content credentials feature on the Leica M11P, because fingerprints on top of your negatives are the new baddest way to copyright your photos. But jokes aside, I've never had this problem before, so maybe food and film in one spot was not the greatest idea. I will probably start wearing cotton gloves when handling 4x5 film from now on, but at least number 6 was another win. Luckily, I had a bit of a streak here, so portraits number 7 and 8 turned out great. Number 7 is my friend Sabrina, where I tried a bit of a different pose to have a more sideways angle.
Ja, du musst mal bei meiner Mama, wir machen ein Foto, meine Mutter macht immer eine Pose. Jetzt hätte sie das früher so einstudiert.
Aber auch so, dass man immer
sieht
schön
echt okay aus dann.
The focus fall-off is crazy here, and of course it would have been desirable to not only have the front but also the back eye in focus, but I kind of like it this way. Number 8 of Andrea was another side profile experiment, which I also really like because it looks crazy with the steep focus fall-off where the ear already is not in focus anymore. So number 7 and 8 were a success as well.
Warum hast du dich da hinten hin verkrochen? Warum kommst du nicht hier vorne hin? Hier ist doch ein Stuhl, hier ist doch ein Hocker.
I know, I shouldn't name any favorites, but somehow portrait number 9 of Thomas is in fact one of my favorite ones from the night. For one, I nailed the focus, but I also love his facial expression and how you can see so much of the office space to the right, putting the portrait in more context. So number 9 out of 15 also gets a thumbs up. Portrait number 10 of Fabi is probably also another favorite of mine. The focus might not be spot on, but good enough, and I also love the lighting on the face and how great the outfit looks rendered on black and white film. My observation definitely was that I feel more and more comfortable with my 4x5 camera. It's almost like I have a choreography in my head where I do the things in the same order every time to make sure I won't forget anything. Therefore, portrait number 10 of Fabi is a pass, I would say. With portrait number 11 of Philip, however, I messed up again. having focus on those perfectly white teeth, but sadly not the eyes. Even though Portrait 11 was only semi-successful, I liked the style of neutral, plain front-on portrait I went for here because it lets you focus on the story and the emotions the face has to tell. I also stuck to this style with Portrait 12 of Ricarda, which probably is the portrait where I nailed the focus the most, having both eyes perfectly in focus. Here I like the contrast of the clean and symmetrical composition and the more exciting and more chaotic pattern of her outfit. So number 12 gets a success badge as well. With Elena, it was the only time I had to take 2 4x5 shots. My rule for the night was that everybody would get 1 4x5 shot, with the exception that I could take another one if I knew right there that I messed up the first one. And with the first shot of Elena, I heard that the shutter sounded pretty slow in comparison to the earlier shots, and when I took a look at the lens, I saw that the shutter speed was accidentally set to 1/15th, where I was almost certain to get a blurry image. I took another shot with 1/60th of a second, but to my surprise, both came out perfectly fine. As a side effect, it's nice to have a diptych of one neutral expression and one smiling image, where luckily both images are in focus. So number 13.1 and 13.2 came out as a double success. You might also remember my friend Radek from an earlier video where we went on a photography trip to Poland together. He's the only other photographer in my local friend circle, and therefore I was extra cautious to nail the shot, which I wouldn't say worked out. It's not by much, but the focus is slightly off, and as a perfectionist, of course, I cannot let that count. So number 14 out of 15 was another halfway success. Radek has never used a large format camera before, but he was keen to try it out. So model number 15 was, surprise, surprise, me.
Well, luckily I have one friend who's also a photographer, so I guess it's my turn to be in front of the camera now.
I explained what he had to do, and of course he nailed it on the first try. I'm actually really surprised how well he nailed the focus on this one. I definitely didn't do as good on my first try. So when it comes to the 4x5 shots, we have 16 exposed sheets of 15 people, of which one image came out completely blank. Of the 15 fine shots, we have 4 out of focus or blurry ones and 11 usable ones. Of course, more perfect shots would have been desirable, but with my level of experience in large format and the rather hard conditions of only one wobbly light and the need to shoot wide open, I would say that is not too bad at all. And here are some of the backup shots I took with my Leica M10. I actually really like the combination of shooting large format in this rather slow and conscious way, but also shoot digitally to be able to show the models the outcome straight away. That way I feel like they kind of trusted the process a little bit more and were more relaxed since they already could anticipate what the final images might look like. One thing I'm still a little bit torn about is the kind of coherence of the images. I could have been a bit more experimental with the composition, with the lighting, with the poses and so on, and instead I went for this rather uniform look, but that way I feel like the images work very well as a set or as a series. To me, it's almost like a typology of my closest friends, which is exactly the style of documentation I was going for. Of course, the question is, was all this worth it? Going through the hassle of shooting 4x5, then needing to develop, scan and also remove dust from all the images is very time consuming. So the question is, couldn't I just do all this on digital to save time but also have a more reliable option? And from an outcome perspective, probably the answer is no, it's not worth it. But for me, the outcome is not all that matters, but I'm more interested in the process. And 4x5 takes a lot of dedication and time, and somehow going through this laborious process together strengthens the personal bond, and I feel like it really formed a connection between the model and me. Also, that shallow depth of field and the possibility to shift the focus plane is something that's very hard to recreate on digital. Therefore, this portrait session, in my opinion, meant more to me on a personal rather than technical or outcome level. Of course, all of my friends know that I'm a photo geek and that I carry a camera with me whenever we meet, but I think most of them were not aware how big the obsession actually is, and most of them have never seen me or basically anybody shoot such an exotic camera like a large format camera before, so inviting them into my nerdy world felt very special to me. All in all, it was definitely a different but very special birthday that we hopefully will remember for a long time. And now I only have to decide if I want to redo this kind of birthday photo shoot every year, or maybe if once every 10 years, so next time for my 40th birthday, will be the better option. And that being said, thank you so much for watching and see you in the next one.